Free planting Torreya seeds. Success at Shoal Sanctuary, Florida. This is part 2 of a 2-part series on this topic, so please watch part 1, it's 24 minutes long, before you continue here. As with the start of this video documentation, Chris Larson is our guide. I'm Connie Barlow, and I'll be the occasional narrator.
This one has been hardy all along. The little guy who planted this, David, was one of our youngest planters. He named it Tarantula. I tried to talk him out of it, but that's its name. It does really well. This is really high for this creek. This is Christmas Creek. Chryssemys, the little yellow turtle. And let's see, we have 5 ravines on Shoal Sanctuary. Grotto Ravine, where we were before. No Man's Ravine, which is right up here, we'll be going there because it's right where surveyors from this way and this way met, and no one owned it, so they didn't name it. So no one owned it, so it's No Man's Ravine. Those have all been rectified since then, but it was pretty funny for a long time. Then we've got Glen and By Gorge. Its original name was Boy Gorge, but Boy George has gone out of fashion, so it was renamed By Gorge. We weren't sure if we had another Glen, so I got on By Gorge, my husband got on Glen, and our son went down the other one to see if we met. And we kept calling to each other. We did it in winter. And sure enough, it was another one. And so our son said, here we go at Glen. And that's its name.
And so which ones, okay, Grotto Ravine has torreys in it.
Yes.
And
this is Christmas Creek.
And how many did you plant here?
I have to look at, I know a total of 20 in this area, including Christmas Creek, No Man's Ravine, and By Gorge.
Okay, and this one's right by the trail that we're on, so this is real handy.
And the creek, Christmas Creek.
So the sound here, as you can see right where it comes, and it has a tiny little waterfall. Here's the torrey. Top down on the torrey here. Really perfectly beautiful. But let's take a look up. South is actually right through here. Look at all the sub-canopy evergreen. Going to go right past the sun. Whoops, get by it. And look what we have up here. Southern magnolia, a lot of evergreen, but right over in this direction, late afternoon sun in the summer. Yeah, that's deciduous there. Well, this creek is certainly keeping things open. So we have found really happy territory. A deer could easily get in here. A deer could, like, look how flat this is. And this is the trail right up here. But no deer, nothing sampled it. It's just perfection. So what we have here is amazing. It's a perfectly strong vertical stem, no curvature, about 3.5 inches tall. And each of the original leaves that it put out is still very healthy, photosynthesizing, and very long. Next thing it did, right after that, it put out 3 laterals, but they were small. The first growth of lateral 1, and on this side, out to here 2, and on this side, out to here 3, and the sun is over, this is south here. So it was longer on here. And then, I can't tell which happened when, but there's another lateral growth spurt here. It's going to do it again heading south. There's a bud there that's ready to go. This one had a huge spurt here. No bud. It's not going to go again on that one. something happened to this leaf here, but that's all. It's just perfection in here. And then over here, first growth spurt, you can see how widely spaced and long the leaves were. But on the second growth spurt, it decided to do narrower, closer together, and not as long. And then this is the third growth spurt right here, and no bud on the end. So then, after the first, it had no herbivory, went up about 2 inches, and perfect radial leaf structure here, and at the very top, we're going to have 3 laterals come out, this way, this way, this way, and there's even a slight terminal bud here. So I'm guessing spring it's going to put out 3 laterals in these directions, and then probably late fall it'll put up another terminal. This is an awesome torreya. Oh, and it's up flat. It can get its feet down. This is more water, Chris said, than it's usually here, but it's going to get its feet down there. It's never going to suffer from drought. And I've also noticed, you know, the stream keeps things somewhat open here, and the sun up there, there's some deciduous trees. And so that means wintertime, even though it's cold today, right now, I'm going to breathe on it so it can photosynthesize even more. Take it in. All right. May the forest be with you. You can see there's a pinwheel in there. Nothing's come up. But Chris says this one here, right along the creek, look how open it is there. Get some sun. She says this one's very active. So here's the creek. We're going to cross over a little bridge here. And we just came from there. Look at this. We got a little American holly here. But here's the landscape. You'd think there'd be deer that could eat things here.
Yeah, there have been. Yeah.
Christmas Creek.
This is actually, see all this wetland is coming down from Elmira Gulch.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh yeah, look at, there's some water coming right in here from here. So this is a top-down view. What's the name of this one again? Trek. And this one is very similar to the one that's along this same little creek. Went up about 4.5, 5 inches first. I'll show a side view as well. Next thing it did, it put out 2 laterals, not 3, but 2. And then it put out 2 again from the same. And each of these 2 here has a bud ready to go. So it's going to put out a 3rd growth on there. And this one here, very easy to see. It lost some needles in there, but you can see where the 2nd year came out. And look at, there's another little bud there. That's going to, so it's going to put another growth there. Very happy where it is in the sun. Doesn't feel like it needs to go up much. And look at it, it's going to put 2 more laterals out. Very next growth season. No herbivory on these at all. So we just recorded down there in the center of the photo. Chris just said that here at this flagged structure, 2016 there was a little 2.5, maybe 3 inch, initial growth visible, but then nothing. We have no idea what happened to it there. It's pretty steep along that section. The creek, you can see it's got quite a wide little sort of semi-floodplain here. All right, so Chris, you said there's 2 more? All right, we'll follow. All right, this is a southern magnolia, and just like at Grotto Ravine, look at what it's capable of doing. Obviously, it grew its roots before this creek cut down this much. Wait, you have witch hazel here?
Yeah, this one.
That's really important.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. Wow.
Yeah, that's witch hazel.
Okay. And the other stuff is a lot of Florida anise, right?
Yeah. And this is a magnolia. This one came down recently, very recently.
Oh, yeah, I see.
We have two over here. They're not growing, but we have two down here that are.
Okay.
Cephus was planted by Bo, little cutie pie. I've got a great picture of Bo with the seed before he planted it. Cephus was Bo's grandfather's endearing name for his nickname for his grandchild. This one I was sure was not going to make it. We had a really severe drought in, I think it was 2016 or 2017, and it had sprouted right away. And then it was looking really bleak, and there was no water. There was barely water running. And I gave up on it, and it made it through the drought. And it's even, look how high it is off the water, and it's fine. Good old Cephus.
I'll go in close. So this is Cephus, and it is the smallest. I don't see no intense herbivory on it at all. Might be some physical injury. You can see white oak leaf off to the left here, so we've got good deciduous. Just one lateral came out, and then another vertical off of that first lateral that's less than an inch tall, and one tiny little possible, see that lateral bud coming off to the right. And you can see how steep this is here. And this looks like a white oak. Let's go up. Oh yeah, look at. We have got, oh, that looks like a post oak off to the left. It hasn't lost its leaves yet, but this white oak certainly has. So we've got a hole in the sky, southern magnolia there. Ooh, more white oak over in that direction, and that's towards the south. And then coming down here, you can see all the subcanopy evergreen here. A little bit of American holly, too. Yopon holly must be a pioneer. I don't see any of it in this shady area here. Nothing. So she said it had just come up and it just kind of hung out through the drought, long ways up from the good 15, maybe 20 feet above the water level there.
This one is Grow Tall, planted by Ian. And we've got, here comes Christmas Creek, and here's where it meets No Man's Glen, right here.
Ooh.
Fun spot. The kids like to pick these interesting little spots with scenes they like.
Okay, and this one's growing really close to an evergreen fern. Oh my gosh, Michael, have you looked at this one?
Oh yes, I did. I touched it, kissed it.
Okay, come on over here. First of all, look at the evergreen fern that we have here. And there's another one down here. This is camouflage. Beautiful camouflage. So the first growth spurt would have been, golly, maybe 2.5 inches, not much. Look at the size of each of these leaves that came out. They're starting to brown a bit. I don't know if that's from just all the leaves coming down, and this is a bit of a slope here during the rain. But the first thing that happened, it put out 2 laterals, but the laterals are not exactly flat. They're angling up at about 30 degrees. This is very unusual. 30-degree angle coming up, and the first growth spurt of the lateral came all the way out to here, And then another year, it went up to here, and there's a little bud, so it's going to do another one and come out. It likes lateral here. This one also, 30-degree angle looking up. It came here in the first year, and then the second year, or another year, came out to here, and just a little tiny bud. And this one, beautiful, just absolutely beautiful, straight going up here. Maybe 2.5 inches or so. Gorgeous radial structure. And 2 lateral buds that are definitely going to grow this spring, this direction, opposite of these. So this is our last one. What's the name of this one again?
Grow tall.
Grow tall. You are growing tall. Grow tall. May the forest be with you.
So we've just finished the field documentation of results at Shoal Sanctuary. 4 years after children planted a total of 40 seeds directly into forest soil. That is, free planting. The kids planted the seeds in March and April of 2015, and I videoed the results in January 2019. In Grotto Ravine, 5 of the 20 seeds produced seedlings that are still alive. In the other ravines that are less deep and dark and shady, a total of 4 of 20 seeds produced seedlings that are still alive. So it's about the same. Key learnings is that this is an average success rate among all the current free planting experiments by Torreya Guardians. And you can see an overview of those other plantings and our results on our free planting webpage. But the stunningly new learning here is that there was 0 herbivory of a scale that set back any of the plants. Maybe a little tiny leaf here and there was sampled, but not like whole branches or even the apical stem that we've seen at the other free planting sites. So, no herbivory. I mean, wow, this is really different from our other free planting sites. So that leads us to the first question for further study. What is it about this site in Shoal Sanctuary that makes it ideal for not having herbivory? And is that just basically deer or rodents too? What's going on? What can we learn from this? I can think of 3 possibilities that may make this free planting site less prone to herbivory than the other sites that we've planted at. First, Grotto Ravine in particular would seem dangerous to deer. A bear or panther could be hanging out down there, and escape would be slow and difficult. But then, what about all the torreyas seedlings that arose from seeds that the kids had planted in less severe topographies at Shoal Sanctuary? They escaped herbivory too. So that's not a very good hypothesis in this case. Okay, second one. The deer population could be unusually low here. I think that one's quite probable because this is a very rural location. It is not gentrified. And from what I've seen, the neighbors, it's very poor, very sparsely occupied. That would mean that the deer season would be important for gaining meat by the local folks here. And possibly there'd be some off-season poaching too of deer. Finally, another hypothesis, recall that the kids not only planted seeds, but they installed a shiny pinwheel at each site. It was a windless day when I visited, but a few of the video clips do show the pinwheels moving. That intermittent movement would be very scary to deer, and they'd remember that as a scary sight. A second topic for further study is, will habitats support future health? Shoal Sanctuary is in Florida, due west of the tiny peak glacial range of Florida Torreya. So from a traditional conservation perspective, Shoal Sanctuary should be ideal habitat. Not so fast. A peak glacial refuge is, by definition, a lousy place for an endangered plant to survive in this peak interglacial, warm climate and warming. If you're unfamiliar with why I advocated, beginning in 2004, for assisted migration northward of Torreya taxifolia, then watch either of these two videos. Even so, the habitat distinctions between the cool Grotto Ravine and other ravine habitats at Shoal, where the kids planted seeds, constitute a terrific long-term experiment. My prediction is that, in the decades ahead, and as these torreyas grow, they will begin to show signs of inability to thrive. It will simply be too hot for them here. If that's the case, one would expect the plantings in Grotto Ravine to maintain their health and to stave off disease for longer than the plantings at the other sites at Shoal. So that'll be a good experiment. Study topic number 3 is really important for helping all of us develop best practices for free planting Torreya seeds. The question is whether Christmas ferns can serve as an indicator species. That is, does the presence of this evergreen fern indicate site conditions that will also favor Torreya? Recall that Christmas ferns were prevalent in Grotto Ravine. And even at the site of the last seedling we video documented, Christmas ferns were on both sides of it. Yet Chris Larson herself mentioned that this fern species was special at Shoal and that it did not occur in the pine uplands there. Now, take a look at the map at the resolution of individual counties where Christmas fern is found in the wild. Again, in each county, it is found only where soils are rich, soils are moist but well drained, and at sites of partial to full shade. In fact, Christmas fern cannot survive in full sun, no matter how rich the soil. There are 2 additional benefits to free planting Torreya seeds very close to Christmas ferns. The first of these 2 additional benefits brings us to the 4th and final study topic. Study how to benefit from mycorrhizal networks. You see, Christmas ferns attract the same fungal symbiotic partners that Torreya needs to thrive. Vesicular arbuscular mycorrhizae is a mouthful, so this kind of fungal partner is referred to often as VAM, arbuscular, or simply endo, meaning that this particular mycorrhizae reaches right into the root cells rather than just between them. Now consider, if you find a mature Christmas fern, and especially if other endo-loving plant species are nearby, then by inserting a seed into the soil with no other disturbance, there's a chance that the seed has a whole intact wood wide web to tap into right from the start. Here are the other plant species on site at Shoal that also attract the endo form of mycorrhizal partner, and that were mentioned in the video tour itself. These include southern magnolia and other magnolia species, sweet gum, Florida anise, and red bay. Finally, a huge benefit of not just putting a Torreya seed near a Christmas fern, but actually within the outer reaches of its fronds is this. The color, shade, and pattern of the fern frond offers superb camouflage for our evergreen Torreya babies, especially during the winter, when the ground cover is mostly brown, fallen deciduous leaves. A big section of the Freeplanting Seeds webpage on the Torreya Guardians website shows examples of this camouflage partnership. So, to close out this video documentation of the seed free-planting success at Shoal Sanctuary, I'd like to end with a new plant appreciation that I've developed while editing this video and while doing the online research that supported my narration here. I'll call this section In Praise of Polystichum. Polystichum acrosticoides, that's the evergreen Christmas fern. And this abundant, wide-ranging fern serves the endangered Florida torreya in at least 3 ways, as I've already mentioned. Camouflage, especially as an evergreen during the winter months. Also, mycorrhizal network. Put a torreya seed into the soil beneath the Christmas fern fronds, and you've not only got access to the correct type of fungal root partner, you might even be able to connect directly right away into a healthy mycorrhizal network, the Wood Wide Web. Finally, indicator species. Thus far, I've observed no species that can better indicate ideal microsites for planting on a piece of property than the Polystichum ferns. Remember, this fern does not appear in the uplands of Shoal Sanctuary, so it helps us to locate the best local habitats for torreya seeds. So now, a photo montage of glorious Christmas ferns that I've photographed, usually inadvertently, over the years. Because again, it's only now that I recognize how important Christmas fern is to our helping Florida torreya. Let's begin with this photo. Wow! I took this picture in Louisiana in November. And yes, what you see here are Florida torreya branchlets intermingling naturally with Christmas fern fronds. The torreya branchlets all emanate from a single 30-foot-long branch trailing on the ground from a beautiful 68-year-old tree, torreya tree, planted by Caroline Dorman in north-central Louisiana. You can watch a video of the torreyas there by way of this 2-part video series. Turning to the mountains of North Carolina, in 2008, Torreya Guardians planted 21 potted seedlings at a forested site near Waynesville. Here is a beautiful example of a Florida torreya thriving on this steep slope in the Waynesville forest almost 10 years after planting. And look who is lurking alongside. This planting was very root-bound, too long in the pot, so it too is almost 10 years old, but it had to regrow entirely from fresh basal growth. Again, it was root-bound in the pot. Polystichum is a welcome neighbor, I'm sure. Turning to another species of Polystichum that tends to hang out with redwoods and Douglas fir in the west. The common name for this species is Sword Fern. That's me with the plant pair in Humboldt County, California, 2017. Visiting any of the old-growth groves in Redwood National Park, and you're sure to see a lot of sword ferns and other kinds of ferns, too. Now, look at this. That's a baby redwood growing in the shelter of a grove of sword fern fronds. Yet this is not California. It's north of Seattle, Washington. Lots of redwoods have been planted horticulturally in the Pacific Northwest, far north of their native range. The redwood planted for landscaping nearby here in someone's yard started to produce seeds, and those tiny seeds blew into and are now growing within sword ferns, likely tapping into the mycorrhizal network already there thanks to the ferns. Finally, one more photo. In 2005, Lee Klinger joined me for an expedition to document the champion grove of the California species of genus Torreya, north of Santa Cruz. This was redwood habitat too, and I bet both the redwoods and the torreyas, like this one that Lee's standing by, are praising genus Polystichum. May the forest be with us all.